1, 2, 3, 4.
All right, Proverbs 31, the end of it. A godly wife, who can find? The end of Proverbs 31 ends starting with verse 10. In fact, this is the end of the whole book of Proverbs. All the way to verse 31, these 22 verses are a poem about a worthy woman or a godly wife. And Solomon, well, maybe it's not Solomon, maybe it's King Lemuel, maybe it's his mom, not exactly sure, but it's going to write this poem. Now, anytime you see something, a 22-section in the Bible, you want to think to yourself, I wonder if this could be an acrostic, that is a poem that begins with the different letters of the alphabet, and it turns out that that's exactly what you find. Verse 10 starts with the Hebrew letter Aleph, then Beth, then Gimel, then Daleth, and so forth, all the way down for those 22 verses. It's one of the few forms of Hebrew poetry that we can't see in the English. And this whole poem is about this, the worthy woman or the godly wife. Now, the advantage of this text is it lets us contrast the biblical idea of what it means to be a woman with the worldly idea of what it means to be a woman. And really the thing that we're chasing after there, what the world talks about, is feminism. Now, I don't want to dig too far deep into this, but one of the problems that we see with feminism is that modern feminism is that instead of exalting those things that are womanly, the very things that are womanly are despised. And in a lot of ways, modern feminism is, rather than protecting the greatest gift that the Lord gives to women, which is the gift of motherhood, which sometimes we can talk about really the gift of the womb. It's really quite astonishing that the Lord builds women so that inside of their own body, another human being can have life. This is astonishing. Rather than protecting these things, they are an attack on these things. It's one of the reasons why, just to kind of foray into political things, it's one of the reasons why we have to, as Christians, protest the idea that women can be soldiers on the front lines. Because if a man soldier is taken in battle, you can do a lot of horrible things to him, but you can do nothing as horrible as what the people can do to a woman, because the man does not have a womb that needs to be protected. So we want to see that in the biblical picture, that it is exalting all of those things that the Lord has given to woman, and especially seeing Eve as the very kind of crown jewel of God's creation. So let's take a look at this beautiful poem. Who can find a worthy woman? For her price is far above rubies. The heart of her husband trusts in her. He shall have no lack of gain. She does him good and not harm all the days of her life. She seeks wool and flax and works eagerly with her hands. The hands are going to, in fact, come back time and time again in this discussion here, that the woman's hands are going to be exalted and really is understood as a great treasure here. She is like a merchant ship and brings her bread from afar. She rises while it is still night. Do you think I can draw a picture of a map while I keep reading this? Let me see. The merchant ship which comes from afar. She rises while it's still yet night, and gives food to her household and portions for her servant girls. She considers a field and buys it. When we were studying this in Bible class yesterday, people said, hey, the mom, the wife, she can go and buy a field? Well, yeah, of course she can consider a field and buy it. What makes you think that wouldn't be true? Huh? What makes you think that idea would be different in the Bible? She arms her the fruit of her hands. With the fruit of her hands, she plants a vineyard. She arms her waist with strength and makes her arms strong. Now, we want to say that that womanly strength versus masculine strength are different, but there is the exaltation here of strength. In fact, womanly strength often is not just moving things out of the way, but it's this kind of long and patient endurance that's there. Anyway, she perceives that her merchandise is profitable. Her lamp doesn't go out at night. She has enough oil in her lamp to keep the fire burning even in the middle of the night if it need be. She lays her hand to the distaff. Her hands hold the spindle. Again, look at the hands, the kind of industry and creativity of the godly woman that's being found here. But notice, and this I think is important, that the creativity, the particularly feminine creativity, is geared especially towards the home. The economic sphere is in the home, whereas the masculine creativity, the economic sphere, is outside of the home. Adam is given the garden, while Eve is given especially the home. Now, how we arrange those things in our own life and in our own time, we want to do so with great consideration of the Lord's word and his confidence. But here we notice that it's particularly the home life that is the ambition of the godly woman. If I think it's the Greek word that Paul uses for the young woman is oiko despotes, which means home ruler, despot. And so we see that it's particularly in these things of home and children that the wives have an inclination and special gifts. Now, this extends, though, of course, beyond the home. It has to. The home being the center of life and life expanding out from the family to the state. And it says this, she opens her arms to the poor. She extends her hands to the needy. She's not afraid of snow for her household. There's a blizzard outside right now, by the way. But the godly woman is not afraid of snow for her household. For all her household are clothed in scarlet. They're well taken care of. She makes for herself carpets of tapestry. Her clothing is fine linen and purple. Her husband is respected in the gates when he sits among the elders of the land. In the ancient world, you would have a city wall, go around the city to protect it, and then you'd have a gate that would lead into the city, and people, of course, would go in and out. And it's at the city gate that you have court, that you have the wise men standing around and talking. Now, it's saying that the wise men who are respected at the gates have behind them a godly woman, which is really quite wonderful and probably true, that every man knows who has any sort of level of success that it is due almost exclusively to the fact that he has a good and godly wife at home. Now, what's interesting here, though, is we're going to contrast the respect of the husband to the respect of the godly wife at the end. So don't let me forget to do that. Verse 24, she makes linen garments and sells them and delivers sashes to the merchant. Strength and dignity are her clothing. She laughs at the time to come. Now, here we're going to make a shift from hand to mouth, and so how is it? How is it with the hand of the godly woman? Well, she's creating all of these wonderful sort of things, and then how is it with her mouth? What is she doing? She's laughing. This is so great that there's great joy for this woman, and she opens her mouth with wisdom. Kind instruction is on her tongue. So this woman is wise. This woman has good instruction. She has strength and dignity and joy. She lacks fear. She looks well to the ways of her household and doesn't eat the bread of idleness. Idleness, of course, all through Proverbs is rebuked, and especially here. Now, here we are. Her children rise up and call her blessed, and her husband also praises her. Many women do noble things, but you excel them all. So that while the husband is having the respect of the elders sitting at the gates, this godly woman has the thing that she treasures most. It is the respect of her children who gather all around her, and her husband who now stands next to her. And the children say, "Mother, you're blessed." And the husband says, "Many do noble things, but you excel them all." So the exaltation of the godly wife comes from the joyful face of her children, and her husband. Do you see this picture? It's just beautiful. I mean, this picture actually isn't beautiful, but the picture of the proverb, the poem, is beautiful. Now, charm is deceitful, beauty is vain, but a woman who fears the Lord, Yahweh, she shall be praised. So that the fear of the Lord, just like the fear of the Lord is the beginning of treasure, of the beginning of wisdom, the fear of the Lord is the greatest treasure of the godly woman. Give her the fruit of your hands. Let her works praise her in the gates. Now, this poem is beautiful for a couple of different groups of people. One, it's very, very beautiful for the boys who are out there looking for a wife, and the psalm is warning you, hey, don't chase after beauty and charm. Chase after a woman who fears the Lord, who is strong and has dignity, who is kind and wise and laughs at the time to come, who's industrious and creative and all these sorts of things. This poem is also beautiful for you women who trust in the Lord Jesus Christ and wonder, what does a godly woman, what does her life look like? And this text is also wonderful for you men who are, as I am, blessed with a godly wife, to see what a great treasure they are. You'd give up all the wealth and riches of the world to rejoice in the wife that the Lord has given you. So there it is, Proverbs 31, a godly wife who can find. And that, dear friends, will take us to the end of our Proverbs study. We're going to talk about the suffering of Jesus here in a few minutes, and then next week we're going to start a study on the Ten Commandments. So subscribe and stay tuned for that.